The interpretation of some of these stories, you gotta learn and understand Lakota, because some of them, like I say, it's just not words. It goes into, you could start a conversation and without really explaining, you put yourself there, what's going on. And, or like, just the in-depth thought process, you're thinking way ahead of time as to what's going on. But yeah, it's so different with our language, and I'm so sorry that we have lost. I that was my first language, and I try to speak it, but being out here, I understand, but I say some of our words wrong.
Yeah, it's so hard with languages unless you speak them daily or have
Yes.
that kind of time to do that. It just happens.
And the sad part of it is, maybe it happens to a lot of people. I don't know. But even with my own family, because we have been so colonized, I try to teach the language to my kids. My oldest son was in Desert Storm, and he saw the world, whatever. And my young son, where are we going to apply it at? How are we going to use the language? Everybody's speaking English and everybody's speaking Spanish. Where are we going to use this? And I feel bad because they're really not into it. They're finally coming out asking questions, which I'm kind of happy about. Yeah. But I got two grandsons that are in their 20s, and I'm trying to get a hold of them to teach them,
Yeah.
And so at least they know. One of them will know, But that's the sad part of it. I said, I have all this information and nobody wants to hear it.
Oh, well, I think there are people who want to hear it. I really believe that in my heart of hearts, and that figuring out what that looks like and how we do that. And because when I see all the young people that are like out at Tall Bull, or like Lewis and Esther and like their little one, and it's just, I'm wondering if like how, I don't know, I feel hopeful. I guess I feel hopeful about where we're at right now. But yeah, it's hard.
And this is where the cultural embassy is so important. Who are we going to get there that's interested? I'm excited. I want the kids to go in there and learn. I want our people, all of them, to come in there and take in. We contribute, we give things to each other, we take away things from each other, but that's how we learn to live cohesively.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, that's one of the things that I want. And I think not only the herbs, the plants and stuff like that I know of that could be useful, because you could get those books anywhere, they're finding out now. But one of the things is psychological aspect of life in the Lakota way, how we see things is what I want to say. Because just like, some of the examples I gave you, those are so meaningful.
Oh, I mean, they're life lessons where somebody might just think it's a story, but the more times you hear it, you get different aspects of it. And I know, like, even in our neighborhood, sometimes people will be like, they tell the same story over and over. I've heard that story so many times. But I'm like, if you listen, it changes a little bit, or there's more details that get added the more times you hear it. And that just having that space is so exciting. And I mean, I think what you're doing is just kind of opening up the doors to more conversation about this, or the ideas around it, because that's the other thing, is that so many times young people want to feel like self-assured and content. And I don't know if you're really supposed to feel totally content when you're in your 20s or 30s. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a time of great, like, swirl because you're trying to figure out who you are. You might
Yeah.
be having kids. It's hard to be a parent, all of this stuff. And they're always reaching for, like, almost like the space that you're in now, where you're like, okay, I've done all that. I
Mm-hmm.
know how to do that. And not understanding that you have to walk the road or you have to go through it
Mm-hmm.
to get there. And I think it takes some of that pressure away to maybe have some more fun while you're going through it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just, yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I started to talk about the Sundance.
Mm,
I look I look at the commitment, which it's a trying thing for them too. I understand that this, if they're willing to sacrifice or go into these rituals, it's a step forward to changing their life
mm,
too.
mm-hmm,
However, I feel that 4 days out of the year, they could be sacred, more sacred than
mm,
thou, as, oh, I got to do this, and they only comply to those
mm.
4 days. But what about the other 361 days?
Yeah.
Are you walking what you're
Mm,
taught?
mm-hmm,
The compassion, the humility, the respect,
mm,
and all that, because that
right.
comes with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I don't see that. And I asked my dad, I asked him one time, I said, how come you don't Sundance? And he said, he says, I know all that, but he said, I'm not true to myself.
mm,
Just wondered what he was talking about. And he says, I drink.
mm,
He said, I alter my mind and my body with a substance.
mm,
So he said, I'm not true to myself. I'm not pure.
mm,
And so that made me think. And so after my dad passed away, oh, I went up to Sundance because at that time I was a police officer and I
mm.
saw so much of the kids
Oh,
huffing paint,
yeah.
and we were trying to
Oh,
get these laws passed in the state of South Dakota,
mm-hmm,
and all that. So I went up to Sundance because, I told my mom, I'm ready.
mm-hmm,
And she said, no.
mm,
Inichi pishni, which means that you're not fit for
mm,
it.
mm.
you know, the
That's
funny thing
hard to
about
hear, yeah.
the funny thing the funny thing about that whole thing is I thought I was bad all that time, but she
Mm.
said, Iki, huh? She said, you're going to hurt a lot of people with your mouth. Didn't
Oh.
understand that. And I didn't understand that till 6 years
Mm.
ago. Oh, I get it now.
Mm.
Because, yes, I speak the truth. I hurt people's feelings when I come right out, maybe in a sarcastic,
Mm.
passive aggressive way.
Mm.
But I realize myself, I can't I can't walk that road 365 days a year
Mm.
because there's times I'm going to be angry. I'm
Right.
I'm going to do something, that's not within our values.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said, I finally got it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean the huge responsibility that you're
Yeah.
taking on to and I think the humility or the self-awareness to know that that's not where you're ready to go if you are and that like what that path is and everything.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Stacy,
Yeah.
here's a complication in my life. I've been taught. It's almost kind of like a submissive way of our values.
Mm.
Is you can't say no, or you got to walk this way and everything. But in my mind, I'm looking at you got to have boundaries too.
Mhm. Oh, 1,000%. Oh,
And
yeah.
and I realized we moved away from a collective group that we all worked together and it worked right to where we're at now.
Mhm.
It's not that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that my daughter said to me, which I didn't, said, he said, there's two of you, and you and your sister bicker a lot. You argue a lot because she wants you to go to ceremonies, or she wants you to go to inipis all the time. But she said, Mom, I know you're a praying woman. She
Mm.
said, I see you. But she said, you teach them how to fish, and
Mm.
Auntie just gives them the fish.
Mm.
And I didn't think about that. And I thought to myself, in a way, we, because of our values, we enable.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
We don't allow people to find their own strength.
Mm.
But which is good right now is to tell you, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but you could do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did it myself.
Yeah.
So that's my
Mm-hmm.
thought process, and in that aspect, I'm looked at as a cold woman, honorary woman,
Mm.
because I have my boundaries,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so I have to understand a lot of that, But like again, like my mom said, "Inichi pishne" is basically I know because I know me, but does that person look at me saying, "Oh yeah, she's ornery," type of thing? She
Mm.
says something like that, or if I got back, boy, I'll get in her face.
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
so then now I understand. Yes, with your mouth, you're
Yeah.
gonna hurt people.
Well, but you also, as you like, boundaries are, and I just think of like the old ways where like maybe a new mom would need a break. So her sister or her mom would come over and just say, just go take care of yourself for a little bit.
Hmm.
Like somebody to relieve, but then the boundaries, I know the things that they like women, and I feel like a lot of times those narratives are put on women to make us feel like we are mean or unkind when we're just telling the truth. And like, I don't know how many different ways you can sugarcoat the truth, hoping that somebody will get it when maybe you just have to say it and say it with kindness, but then it's up to them how they receive that. And it's really hard because there's always that double standard. I
Hmm.
think of where like men can say certain things, and if a woman says it, it will just not be okay. And I'm like, well, but so then the man's feelings and their point of view is more important. Where do we get hurt? And especially with having daughters, you're like, well, am I like telling you not to speak your mind then? And so it's kind of I feel like women being with women, there's that role modeling or that friendship or that advice that helps give people kind of that knowledge to go through those areas, or like you can't live your whole life being afraid that people aren't going to like you. It just, I mean, but it's so hard as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I think one of the things that I also saw is the colonization. To me, that's a new
Mm-hmm.
word lately.
Yeah, but it's so
But
true. It's just
yeah,
white supremacy. It's like it's really oppressing
yeah.
people and making them fearful. And yeah.
But coming from a matriarchal system
Mm-hmm.
as a Lakotas, I learned all that, in my womanhood ceremony. And that's where also this tapa
Oh
comes into
yes.
play, or either a rock.
Okay.
Is women are given, if they have something to say, when the men used to sit and have their meetings, ominichia, and
Mm.
the women used to sit in the back. Well, I was taught that because we were given the laws, that we
Mm.
have the right to say,
Mm-hmm.
what we see is wrong, because we think with our head and our heart together, whereas the men don't just
Yeah.
use their mind. So this ball, or the rock, Ian
Mm.
Gamilas, a round rock,
Mm-hmm.
but they throw that ball in the middle, and then everybody
Ah,
stops and gives you that time to talk, to
right.
say what you're saying. one of the things that I learned also from talking, my grandparents always used to say, and my dad used to say, don't make hasty decisions. Everybody
Mm.
nowadays makes hasty decisions.
Mhm.
And that's where the fighting comes in.
Mm.
Because he says, you take a few days maybe to think about what the decision that you have to solve, or a
Mhm.
problem that you have to solve. He used, he kind of used a glass,
Mm.
a coffee cup. He said, you look at it in all different directions. You kind of lick it,
Mhm.
taste it, you smell it. But
Yeah.
in his own way, he says, you need to have that time to process
Mhm.
what you just heard, what needs to
Mm.
be done. But he said, people don't do that nowadays. And I see that.
Yeah. Oh, people make you feel less intelligent by not wanting to make hasty decisions. And I don't know where that came into, like, being able to make a split decision. And we do it to politicians all the time. Like when you have debates and they're like, okay, we're going to go down the line and ask you all a yes, no question. And people take great pleasure in looking at that. And I'm like, that's not leadership. That's like a game show. What are you
Yeah.
doing? And that, yeah, and I think that self-confidence
Yeah.
of people being like, no, you're not going to rush me. And there's so many kids that maybe have like a learning challenge, or like being dyslexic, or having different different just ways of learning. Being able to say, I'm not going to do this right away, or I need more time, is such a huge strength.
Mm-hmm.
I love that feels like great validation that your dad was like, don't make those hasty decisions
Yeah.
and
No, just
everything.
because he says you have
Yeah.
to. I guess it's part of doing your research
Right.
to see what the good outcome will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what I want for
Yeah.
the cultural embassy. A lot of the values, the moral values, need to be taught
Mm.
along with the cultural values because they're connected. And and I think, and I will use this as an example. We teach our kids powwows of ribbon skirts, is native.
Mm.
But what do you know about the why you
Mm.
do it? Where where did the feathers come from? Were you taught to bless the items that you took from the animals?
Mm. Mhm.
Did you did you pray before you used
Mm.
that? Because it's a reciprocal thing, I think.
Mhm.
Would you say that?
Oh,
Because I think,
always, always. It's an energy exchange.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's
And
still, yeah.
and I remember my dad, he would not kill a porcupine just to get the quills or the
Mm-hmm.
roach stuff and everything. we we would be going down the road and all of a sudden there's a roadkill.
Uh-huh. Scott,
And
I've almost made Scott stop a couple times, and he's like, "We're not doing that, Stacy."
well, he used to say
Yeah.
and offer tobacco,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
say a prayer,
Yeah.
and I learned later that that's what he was talking about. I'm sorry, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take part of you or
Yeah.
move you off
You're
the road.
acknowledging the life that, like the life force that is not there right now, and or that it's in a different form.
Yeah.
But it's not like it goes away. And I think it's disrespectful if you just think that it's just yours to take,
Hmm.
and it's, yeah. I mean, I think those teachings are so
And
important.
it's amazing because, like I said, haha, what you make your moccasins with, my grandma and my dad, they were into the gift of, how and why we use beads and the quills,
Mm-hmm.
but haha is my, I make a lot of moccasins,
Mm.
but I was taught that before you sit and make moccasins, you have to kind of
Mm.
cleanse it,
Mm-hmm.
purify it, because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know who made it or if
Sure.
there's bad vibes.
Yeah, no. I mean, if
I
you think there's good in the world, how could you not think that there's evil? I'm like, you can't have one without the other. So yeah, 100%. That's
so
so important. Yeah.
but it's just basically that's how in depth that I was taught is to
Mm,
sit there and smudge the buckskin, and even to think of the idea of the design. It takes me about 2-3 days to think
mm,
of a design because in the past those were meaningful. There was
mm-hmm.
symbols,
Yes.
symbology, and that's what I probably
Yeah.
leave with what's happening. There's a lot of symbology of our
Mm,
actions that we don't understand.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Everything we do is an exchange or a take in
Hmm.
some way. And yeah, that's so, so true. Oh,
Well, even in my grieving process, I realize I'm trying to look at the bad. I know I want to keep my pain because that's the only connection I have with my daughter. But I learned, looking back at the significant people that died, what lesson did I learn from them?
mm-hmm.
And I also understand we live with grief every day.
Yeah.
We don't know how to cleanse that.
Yeah.
That's why we go to Inipi or we smudge ourselves. Because, killing some of my plants died
Oh,
because they
yeah.
didn't take it. Oh,
Happens
I
all the
grieve for
time. Yeah.
that.
Me too. Oh my God. I have such a hard, I'm like, well, can I save that clipping and propagate it? But that's the compassion and the, it's, it's the right way. I think it's just the right way that we're supposed to show up here. And people like to make fun of it or say it's not true or it doesn't work, but it does.
Mhm.
It does. And that discipline and taking the time, I feel like especially like me being Latina, there's a lot of like ceremonies of the Catholic Church, like it's almost folk Catholicism or
Mhm.
like northern New Mexico,
Mhm.
especially with like the Virgin Mary and the Our Lady of Guadalupe and how like she's the matriarchal figure and all of those sort of things, but there's so much richness in the rituals.
Mhm.
If you're taught the
Sure.
rituals, I almost when I'm doing something, I think about how many other people in my lineage or in my family has done that same thing, and I think that that just strengthens the ties. And I don't know how it does that, but we know that it works.
Yeah.
And that once young people or people who are disconnected feel that, I don't think you can unfeel it. You're constantly then wanting that connection.
I was well. Here's what I was thinking. God, I feel bad for the victims of Epstein, and I hate to mention
Mm,
that, but
mm-hmm. Oh, it is so horrible.
how in the world do people live with the triggers of pain? Through my grief process, I learned that there's going to be grief every day. We're going to carry it no matter what. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
saying, a loss is a grief.
It is, yeah, forever.
You see a car wreck, then
Mm-hmm.
it's going to remind you of the time you got into a car wreck. Oh my God, this, what happened, you know? So I don't think people really understand that we're all walking around with the burden of grief every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
A loss. Oh, I know when I worked so hard and my car got stolen 3 times
Oh
and I was
no.
violated.
Oh God,
But
yeah.
just those little things stirs the
Mm-hmm.
emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on a roller coaster of emotions. And that I don't think people understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's almost like society, well, society has sped up. And I don't think we're supposed to go this fast. And that roller coaster and that anxiety, it just like in our family, we talk about it like you're at the top of the, like, you're starting to spiral, like, and it's just our little thing of like, okay, your anxiety or whatever is going on is starting to ramp up. Like, what have you developed within yourself to self, like, to get balanced again? And what is that balancing? And I feel like so many people go to, well, I need to drink, or I need to smoke, or I need to eat, or I need to, and sometimes it's not the things that you put into your body, it's the lack that's more powerful.
Yeah.
I feel like the, like, not like fasting or not putting more things in allows it to kind of subside, but that's not our culture. That's not colonization at all. So
well, one of the things
yeah.
I learned two things to kind of stand up for myself, you know, because I lived with discrimination and racism. What did I do to you? What's your point? Do you know me?
Yeah.
And it shuts them up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I learned to handle.
Yeah,
You know?
that's a powerful skill. And you have to practice it in life, because the first couple of times you're like, but look, you can tell that you've really practiced that and that you're solid in that. That's such a
It's
powerful
hard
skill.
work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard work because,
Oh,
like I said, I was angry from the 20s, went on the trail of broken treaties, been involved with AIM, everything that I could do. That's me, because I care about people. I want peace. So anything that I could get myself involved in to make it better, and mainly it's for a younger generation.
always, always. Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness.
And so you know, my son say, "Where are you going now?"
Well, you know, you're listening, and there's more work for you to do. I mean, there's
What's my
something more.
task?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got lots.
something more. One a day. You
Yeah.
can't do more than that. But
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Well,
But I thank you
yeah.
very much
Oh, thank
for bringing
you.
me. I hope what I say, I
Oh,
hope
so
people listen.
beautiful.
I'm open. I'm open if people want to talk to me, if they have questions. I put myself out there. I get a lot of calls. And just to know, I walk the land to understand. I may even go into Europe, being over there for 20 days. They're not knowledgeable about what's really happening here with the natives.
Mm,
There's misconceptions. They
mhm.
romanticize us on our horse with our hair
Oh.
flowing.
Oh,
I
geez.
know.
The
Just
city
joking.
life is, yeah, yeah. No, no. Well, and yeah, the true story, the whole story, the whole
Yeah.
story.
One of
Yeah.
one
Oh.
of the little elders, we were in Venice, and so we break out, and she goes over to the host and she says, "They don't even look Indian." She said,
Mm.
"One of them even has a cell phone." And
Oh my
so
gosh.
Iris kind of told us about that, and I had a laugh. I said, "What did you tell her?" And she said, "No." She said, "You explain how you are." But yeah,
Ah.
we
You're
don't
you're like,
look
everybody has to live in
Indians.
this world. It's
Yeah.
all, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess we're supposed to walk around with feathers, buckskin, and everything, you know.
Mm.
And then
Old
that brings
stories.
up the issue with this land back. There's a misconception. We're not saying we want the land back. We are just looking for, how would you say, the acknowledgement, the apologies,
Mhm.
the royalties from the land, what they're doing to
Right.
disturb with all the mining and stuff.
Yes. The
But
reconciliation and
yeah,
restoration and
shouldn't.
yeah.
But everybody thinks we're going to kick them off the land, take away their houses. No, that's not the whole
Yeah.
concept. Listen, please, please, people, listen. You know, listen. You'll get the right story instead of listen to rumors and gossip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions and be educated about the history, because there's so many people, like, we've got the 120th National Western Stock Show in town, and it's all, there's so much history there, but it's like one part of the history, and nothing else. And they don't want to recognize. And I think that's where, through community and through more conversations like this, that there are still people here and they are modern and they have visions and dreams and they're not going to be quiet. And the government should have to answer to the questions that the community has. And that's where I, hope I can support more in our roles and everything. But yeah, for sure.
I hope we have some good things happening with the cultural embassy.
Yeah.
I
It's
hope we get the
exciting.
right people in there.
I think
Not
we
just for a
will.
paycheck or, whatever, but to produce.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I would like to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.